says, I'm working on a deal with a local biz. I'm having trouble figuring out how to set a realistic expectation for traffic. I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver, but don't want to aim too low and perhaps lose the deal either. The business is in a large city but inside of a small suburb. I told him that the best thing is to set up multiple sites on subdomains for each of the smaller suburbs and then go after the big city term. I know that the keyword planner is not an organic SEO tool, but my fear is that the suburbs using the geo modifier get next to no searches, while the big city using the geo modifier gets over 300 per month, according to the keyword planner. When I was going over this with the business owner, I told him that if we rank the sites for the smaller suburbs, if people in those suburbs are searching without the geo modifier, that his site would show up because Google shows what is nearest to the searcher if all they do is type in the service or if they're searching from their phone. That sounds good, but is this correct? Yes. I basically pulled that out of you-know-where. But no, that's true, Caesar, and that's why those local... Look, the Google Keyword Planner might not show search volume for like service plus suburb keyword, if that makes sense. But that doesn't mean that people aren't searching for it. It just means that people aren't paying for pay-per-click ads for it. Or if they are, it's not enough for them to track the search volume. But here's my theory on this, guys, and my methodology on this is, and I've tested this across dozens of lead gen sites that a portion of my business is in the lead gen arena. And what I like to do is, like, take a county, for example, and I'll just use Fairfax County, Virginia, because that's one that I do a lot of work in. Let's say there's roughly 23 cities, towns, suburbs within that county, okay? And for a specific search term, let's say tree service, for example, Fairfax, we could use that as an example. It gets roughly 140 searches per month is what it shows in the Google Keyword Planner. And those numbers could be different now. It's been months since I've looked. I'm just saying, just using these as examples. If I were to actually optimize for 23 of the suburbs, which have little to no competition comparatively to that general Fairfax term, okay, I might only get 5 or 10 searches per month per area, but if you multiply that times all 23 areas, cumulatively it ends up being more traffic than just trying to optimize for the one term. That's part one of that. Part two of that is, in doing so and optimizing for those multiple areas, I can link to the overall broader term, which would be, in this case, a bigger city, right? And use that to push as part of the SEO plan for ranking the bigger city. So I'll initially get some traffic and some phone calls coming in, which is really the most important thing, is to start generating leads for that business owner using the suburbs because they're easy to rank. There's less competition. It's not going to be a floodgate of traffic, but it's going to be, it's going to be some call volume coming in or leads coming into their business while you work on optimizing for the big city. The problem is optimizing for the big city is going to take you time, and now the clock's ticking. Now you've got the business owner who is becoming impatient. Trust me, it happens all the time while you're trying to rank for the more difficult term. Instead, why not start generating phone calls from some of the less trafficked areas, so that and while you're working on ranking the more general term or the more competitive term.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, and also he's mentioning that he's using the subdomain technique, which will make ranking the bigger term much more easier.
That's correct. That's correct, because like we talked about with domain authority earlier, that's going to build. It's a cumulative effect. So again, I always recommend when a business owner says to me that they want to rank in this one particular city, I say, well, that's fine. We can work on that. But however, it's going to take me 3 to 6 months to get you ranked in this area. So do you want me to just focus all my attention on ranking in this one area, and it's going to take me 3 to 6 months to generate significant results for you? Or would you rather, and my suggestion is, and my recommendation to you is, that we target some of these satellite areas, right? These adjacent areas, the suburbs, the towns, municipalities, whatever you want to call them, and start generating some leads for your business within the next 30 to 45 days while I work on optimizing and ranking you for the more general term or the broader term, the more competitive area, the bigger city, whatever. Okay? And generally, by the way, it's your job as the marketing professional to educate them on why that method is a better method. Okay? You can't let you got to get in the point, and I know Caesar said this is only his second. I think he said somewhere this was his second. Yeah, my second client. And I'm a bit nervous when it comes to setting expectations. You can't overpromise and underdeliver. Instead, you should underpromise and overdeliver. But it's also, Caesar, and I know it's difficult, but you got to get to a point where you take the stance of you're the professional, and it's your job to educate them and make recommendations that are in their best interest. Don't let the client tell you what you can let them tell you what they want, but then you need to make sure that you tell them, why that's either a good idea or not so good of an idea, and if it's not such a good idea, what would be the alternatives that you suggest? Okay, because you're the professional here. And oftentimes I know that clients will do that. They'll say, well, look, this is what I want to rank for, blah, 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 and it's up to you to show them why that's not the best approach. Okay? So as far as should I go this route or should I go after the big city term right out of the gate? No, I would go after the suburbs first, without a doubt. You could set up the big city term right out of the gate, but I would start working on the suburbs immediately and use that to funnel back into the bigger city. Okay?
Cool.
Also, last part of that is make sure you're using a keyword suggest tool and look. Because, guys, your keyword suggest tools are going to power suggest. That's a good cue, guys. That is where you're going to find out whether there is traffic or not, whether Google Keyword Planner shows any search volume or not. I don't give a shit. I care less whether it shows traffic volume or not, because if it shows a search plus the city name or suburb name in Google Suggest for your keyword, there is traffic there, period. End of story. Okay, so if you're using a Google Suggest keywords tool, then you should be able to find keywords that actually produce traffic, whether they show up in search, the keyword planner or not. Doesn't matter.